The current state of the internet genuinely horrifies me. I mean, kids are getting politically radicalized and put on government watch lists faster than I can count. I mean, back when I was a kid, we just did normal things like play Minecraft and
torture small animals with pocket knives.
We used to be a country. Now, we're just a society. Something new that's come about in recent years is cancel culture. People tend to ascribe cancel culture to left-wing politics, but I think it's bigger than any political agenda. I think cancel culture comes from the inherent human desire to bully the fuck out of people. We're all ants floating on a big rock, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll all be forgotten one day. Some of us can deal with that while others go online and try to prove to themselves that their presence on this earth actually has impact. And thus, what you call cancel culture is born. The world's biggest losers coming together for no other reason than to feel like they're important. They police the actions and language of other people, and when they succeed, they've won. It's not about what you're saying, it's about how easily they can bully you into submission for saying it. And the latest victim of this conundrum is none other than the YouTube music reviewer known as Brad Taste in Music. I'm not a big fan of Brad Taste in Music. I find his personality to be extremely unlikable, and more specifically, he's an extremely cynical music reviewer, so he's pretty much worse than cancer at this point. Leave your answer down in the comments. Which internet sub-community making me go bananas the best? That being said, I did actually stand up for Brad Taste in Music at one point. If Brad and I have anything in common, it's the fact that Ronnie Radke fucking hates the both of us. Ronnie Radke, who is someone who has threatened to sue me because I hurt his feelings, has also fucked with Brad quite a bit. Ronnie Radke is a musician who has openly stated he loves when people react to his music, but he did not feel the same way about Brad's reactions, which were much more scathing and critical. Ronnie used the copyright system on YouTube to take down Brad's reactions, something that I thought was wrong and unethical. While Ronnie obviously has the right to use the copyright system, he shouldn't be using it for reasons other than copyright. Copyright was clearly not the issue there because it's not an issue with positive reactions, and the system was clearly used for an entirely separate reason. And I thought that was wrong, so I stood up for Brad. But I can't stand up for Brad on this because he looks like such a slimy, pathetic weasel, to the point where I don't even feel a little bad for him. This whole situation all started when Brad Taste in Music took a picture with Ethan and Ela Klein, better known as h3h3. These two innocent pictures would start a massive dumpster fire and send Brad into a complete meltdown for the next day or two. That's right, all of this drama started over a fucking picture. Palestinian people are worrying about how they're gonna survive the next week, while pro-Palestinian Twitter users are worrying about what Jews their favorite YouTuber is taking pictures with. These are the same people who say the horseshoe theory isn't real, by the way. If you're not familiar, H3 has kind of fallen from grace in the last year and a half, and this all started with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict coming to the forefront of people's minds after the events of October 7th. Now, I'm not going to go in depth and give my opinion on this conflict because it doesn't matter to the situation. I mean, obviously, I want peace across the world for everyone. A world where Xbox gamers and PlayStation gamers can legally get gay married. But what I will say is that Ethan and Ela have been very openly pro-Palestinian despite being Jewish, as well as both being Israeli and living in Israel at one point. This, on the surface, is not inherently the problem. However, Ethan and Ela showing sympathy to innocent Israelis who were killed was enough to consider them apologists. In fact, this is the same exact thing that ended h3h3 and Hassan Piker's podcast together. It's such a weird situation because despite repeatedly advocating for the liberation of Palestine and standing in clear opposition to Israel, they have been labeled as Zionists and are considered to be terrible people. A Zionist, by the way, is essentially any person, but mainly Jews, who believe that the country of Israel has the right to exist. Now, for most people, I think they would consider Ethan and Ela's positions to be fair and respectable, but we're not talking about normal people here, we're talking about Twitter. Supporting Palestine has kind of become the new trendy virtue signal that shallow narcissists pretend to care about to boost their ego. But the dogmatic nature of the online pro-Palestinian space is truly something I've never seen before. You go to McDonald's and you're a Zionist. You drink Starbucks and you gotta apologize for it. You drink Coke and you're gonna get scolded at live in front of your audience. And apparently, if you take a picture with alleged Zionists, you're a Zionist too. And this is exactly what happened to Brad Taste in Music. After he posted these pictures, he would be bombarded with criticism from his fan base. The simple act of Brad taking a picture with someone that they slightly ideologically disagree with caused them to freak the fuck out on him. Apparently, Brad was initially dismissive of the criticism, as he should be, but there's no evidence of that because he quickly deleted those tweets and went full damage control mode, something that certainly would not do him any favors. This image made a statement that I did not intend to make, and I'd like to apologize for people who were hurt or upset by this. I also apologize for my quick response, as it was dismissive towards people who care about me and others deeply. I appreciate you looking out for me. I am aware that being around Ethan and Hila at the moment is very questionable. I wanted to meet them despite people's valid criticisms of them. I am aware this is a bad look, and posting a photo with them upset many people. Not the best decision on my part. How fucking spineless do you have to be to apologize for something like this? Especially when you consider the fact that the only instance of H3 saying anything even remotely pro-Israel was him saying he didn't like people celebrating the deaths of innocent people. Aside from that, literally everything he has said about the conflict, at least from what I've seen, has been very pro-Palestine. This is where the story gets crazy as someone with a fucking brain enters the conversation, and they say this: "You're being way too harsh on yourself over this. You met some famous people and took a pic with them and thought it was cool. Not everything has to be tied back to something controversial, and the people giving you shit over that aspect of it are just spewing nonsense." Brad pathetically would respond with, "The famous people in question are hated by a lot of people for really strong and dangerous opinions, and I plastered my smiling face next to them and posted it online. I've become sloppy. I should be more harsh on myself. I'm better than that." Strong and dangerous opinions? Like multiple opinions with an S? Okay, Brad, if you can name 3 different dangerous opinions related to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that H3 has given, I will post a picture of my spread asshole on Twitter. I can't even think of one. I've seen lots of propaganda pushed on Instagram and Twitter by Zionists, okay? I'm not above acknowledging that stuff. So keep that in mind when I say, I don't think H3 has done that. And of course, H3 would catch wind of the situation and he would respond to Brad on Instagram. "This is Brad. Someone on the crew was kind enough to give him VIP tickets so he was able to come backstage and hang out with us. I had the chance to speak with him for a little bit and thought he was a nice guy. Here he is apologizing for taking a photograph with me because I'm a Zionist." What does this even mean? To those that use the word as an insult, it simply means anyone that believes Israel has the right to continue to exist. According to recent polling, this would include 90% of the world's Jewish population. That means that Brad here would need to apologize for taking a photograph with 9 out of 10 Jews. Whatever criticism I have voiced for Israel, whatever financial contributions I've made to the people of Gaza, nothing will ever be enough. Because I, like 90% of all Jews, am a Zionist. I've been on the receiving end of rabid anti-Semitism ever since October 7th, but this one made me especially sad. And I mean, you gotta kind of feel for Ethan in this situation. He is a Jewish guy with deep ties to Israel, and despite that, can look past potential bias and objectively say that what is happening to Palestinians, especially people living in Gaza, is wrong and needs to stop. But none of it matters, and no one can seem to actually explain why, aside from him just being a Zionist. Brad would respond to this, and this is where the meltdown really begins. From content creator to content creator, I genuinely don't understand how anyone is supposed to handle the amount of noise that comes from having an opinion. I think I've seen every single side of this situation be mad at me for a different reason. I'm either doing too much or not enough, and trying to make everyone happy is killing me. And the mask slips, and we see the real issue here. Brad is just trying to appease people. It's not about any real conviction or belief. It's just about not wanting to deal with backlash. Of course, both sides are mad at you. You're half-heartedly flip-flopping on this. People who think you're doing too much are right. To have such a massive overreaction to taking a picture with people who haven't really done anything wrong is definitely deserving of harsh criticism. And are you really surprised that there's people on the other side who think you aren't doing enough? Like I said, a lot of people online who talk about Palestine are just virtue signaling. People have turned this important issue into a dogmatic cult. You get chastised for any small mistake, even something as innocuous as buying a coffee. These people are not people who want you to do better based on objective fact. These are people who want to control and bully you. These people are opportunistically weaponizing the conflict to morally posture themselves as saviors, and as a result, when they have the opportunity to do so, they will capitalize on it. And you're cucking out to them. That's the worst part. Like, you can never win with these people. I remember this one time, the streamer EFEXKAY said no cap on one of her live streams, and then after being confronted about it being like appropriation or something, she went on her stream and apologized for the use of AAVE. And I don't think content creators that do this stuff realize they're only making things worse for themselves. You're setting a precedent for your audience that you can be controlled. You are forfeiting your freedom to your own fucking community. You are saying, hey, if enough people tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it. And with the current climate of the internet being full of these virtue signaling bullies with nothing better to do, you are in for a very unenjoyable experience as a content creator. I mean, look at how hard so many of these types of creators have fallen. Nick is not green, Ethan is online. I mean, even Hassan is seeing a decline lately. It's really convenient and easy to just virtue signal and pretend to give a shit about whatever your audience wants you to, but you're eventually gonna slip up. And when you cultivate a community that you allow to control you, they will eventually cannibalize you. It is unavoidable. I mean, before I even started YouTube, I understood that I could not take a path like this. I understood that I can't get everyone to like me, and I can never get anywhere being what other people want me to be. And you can never thrive when your influence is secondary to your community's influence. If there are people who would throw me to the wolves over some dumb shit, then fuck those people. I don't want them here. Because you can never win with those types of people, and what's happening with Brad is clear proof of that. Brad would desperately try to salvage this dumpster fire with a quick virtue signal. He posted this massive thread where he pretty much was just like, well, I'm Jewish and my family has been killed by Hamas, so it's hard for me to take a side, before ultimately just cucking out and saying that he's pro-Palestine. He also ends the thread by thanking people for bullying him because it broke him out of his harmful mindset. Once again, just setting the precedent that you will be rewarded if you dogpile him like this. I'm amazed at how a measured and honest response to criticism has resulted in acceptance and understanding. I viewed people who had negative feedback towards me as mean and distrustful. I didn't want to listen to anyone who disagreed with me. Doing so was the right choice. I can promise you, Brad, that this was not the right choice. I think there can be examples where this kind of backlash would be warranted, and, you know, in that context, Brad's response would actually be pretty admirable, but it's not admirable because it's so fucking unnecessary. Brad would then respond to the backlash he would receive for how he handled the initial backlash by saying this: yes, I backed down and gave up. Call it spineless. I can handle that. People calling me a supporter is not something I am fit to ever fucking deal with. You think this makes me happy? Cleaning up this mess? I'd love to be able to take a photo and post it normally. This is crazy to me because people calling him a supporter for this situation are clearly like so irrational. There is no merit to that accusation. Brad would prefer to be a spineless cuck who essentially concedes wrongly that what he was doing was supporting a rather than being falsely called a supporter and just brushing it off. You didn't do anything wrong, Brad. You took a picture with people that you admired. This is genuinely one of the most pathetic and sad things I've ever seen a content creator do. It kind of reminds me of the Danny Gonzalez situation, only like way worse. Essentially, Danny Gonzalez had a Starbucks cup in the background of one of his videos, and Starbucks is boycotted in protest of Israel. And Danny Gonzalez had to apologize and pretend that he didn't even know about the boycott. But even then, that's not nearly as bad as this, because at least there's like some rational line of thinking as opposed to like this, which is like, who the fuck cares? This situation with Brad just makes no sense at all. Something that really bothers me about the whole thing is that a lot of these virtue signalers seem to just try to suck the joy out of literally everything. What's happening to Palestinians is very sad, but these people seem to believe that we should all be miserable. I remember a few months ago, I saw this one Twitter post of this picture from the Met Gala, and it got a quote tweet saying like, Israel is killing people right now. Like, are we not allowed to enjoy things? Are we supposed to just like be miserable until every problem in the world is solved? I worry that this method of engagement will only push people away from supporting Palestine or really any cause. Seeing how strict and unrelenting a lot of people online are about the conflict, it probably scares tons of people away. I also worry that if we force all of these public figures to mindlessly virtue signal about shit they probably don't really care about much, it just creates unnecessary conflict in a situation that is already so chaotic. But what do you guys think? Do you think Brad is right to apologize? And do you think associating with people who have different views than you is indicative of your own views? I would personally say no, within reason, of course. But other than that, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe for epic sex. And I'll catch you in the next one. See you guys.